Day one of free agency is in the books. We'll tell you how the Cowboys did next.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. He is Landon McCool. And on today's show, we're discussing day one of free agency. What a wild day across the NFL. Full disclosure, we are recording this late on Monday night. So if something happens over the night, we'll get you on the next show. But Landon, let's talk about the first move that the Cowboys made, and that was trading for Rashan Gary of the Green Bay Packers. We know the Cowboys had a need at outside linebacker. I was surprised that they made the trade for Gary, but what do you think of the trade?
I liked it. I mean, I think, some people are pointing out that it's probably more than they would trade. It's a next year's fourth, so it's basically a fifth. I get that, but to me,
roll really quick.
Yeah,
just because I got to defend myself on Twitter. When it was,
did you say this? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the.
No. I want to point this out because I had.
Yes.
I said this is way too much for Rashan Gary. That's when Diana Rossini reported that it was a 3rd round pick, not a day 3 pick. There is a big difference between a 3rd and a 4th round pick. I think 4th round is still a little too expensive, but you're talking totally different things between a 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the reason they're pulling the trigger on a guy that had been not just rumored to be cut, but I think announced that he had been cut by the Packers.
He said it was a hacker that got into his account.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. I think it's it has to do with the cost control on the contract. Like we haven't seen exactly. They haven't done anything with the contract yet, and they can't until they've executed the trade. Right. They actually had to make a little bit of a couple moves to kind of get themselves enough runway to actually get him onto the team. But I expect with the way his contract currently is that they're likely going to continue to restructure it. Green Bay also took on a bunch of dead money. I think, it's like $17 million. So I think there is ways to kind of redo this deal and restructure, maybe give them some guaranteed money and take away some cap hit and make this a little bit more, fungible or dealable. But I think as far as a player goes, you're getting a starting, edge player who is going to be really crucial on early downs. And then we can have a conversation about what kind of pass rusher they are. But I do think that if you're talking about he's not in the category of Hendrickson or the top end guys that are on the market. But I think if you're talking about someone who can play both sides, who can play the run and the pass, which there aren't a ton of these guys that are proficient at both, I think he certainly passes the bar as a pass rusher, but you're going to want him as part of a committee, not necessarily the top end guy, the featured pass rusher in your committee.
Here's the thing. The Cowboys just needed edge rushers. Donovan Ezeraku is going to miss all of the offseason workouts. We'll see about training camp. You've got James Houston. You've got Isaiah Landon. I guess you have Maris Leafau playing edge as well right now, right? You needed more bodies, right? And this is look at those other guys. Leafau's 230 pounds. James Houston's 240 pounds. Isaiah Land's 240 pounds. You needed a bigger body guy that could hold up against the run. And that's Rashan Gary. He's got a long track record of being an above average run defender. I think you and I could debate about his pass rushing skills because you've seen his win rate drop overall the last couple of years. I don't care about the sack totals. I care about the win rate. But he's still fairly effective in true pass sets. To me, he's a guy that you want to be like your 2nd or 3rd edge rusher, not your 1st. And I think that's my biggest hang up here is if this is the only veteran edge rusher the Cowboys grab this offseason, I'm going to be disappointed because it's not enough. But if they draft one at 12 or they sign a Joey Bosa or they sign a Trey Hendrickson, I think it changes the angles here.
I mean, I would not be shocked if it was still both, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if they signed a veteran guy and they drafted an edge at 20 or 12 if there's one available to them. Because if you look at what this defense has had success with, is it's spreading out the sacks, right? Having a bunch of different players who can do a little bit, right? And then you're gonna, and I just talked about it on Twitter a little bit today. You're gonna have, probably 5 to 8 sacks from your inside linebackers because they do a lot of sim pressure and blitz stuff, which is why you need edges who are okay with occasionally dropping into coverage every once in a while. So you're going to spread that out a little bit more than in a typical 4-3 where you're just always attacking 4 and dropping 7, but you still need more bodies, right? Like that's what's important is that, yeah, you certainly can't look at this and rest on your laurels and say, all right, we've done our edge work, we're done for the day. I think it may be more important, instead of spending $20 million or $25 million on one pass rusher, maybe having two $10 million pass rushers, because you're going to rotate these guys anyways. You have a need of volume. You like what you've got in Ezraku, but you can't necessarily rely on it. You need bodies to kind of help alleviate and spread out the risk a little bit. And then you can manufacture a certain amount of pass rush on top of that if you can figure out your linebacker situation.
And I agree with all of that. I think my only issue is he's not being paid as a $10 million edge rusher right now. Now that can change. Yeah. And again, we need to evaluate this deal as is right now, which is him playing on, I think, was it 19 million this year, or sorry, 18 million this year, $22 million next year, something like that. Now, he's never going to play the 2027 season on a $22 million contract. There's also no guaranteed money, which makes this a deal that's going to be fairly easy to rework. We actually saw the Cowboys, we should mention this really quickly. They reworked Terrence Steele's deal early on Monday morning. They reworked Malik Hooker's deal to save some money, give those guys more guaranteed money. I think that's going to happen with Gary, but I can't say for sure. So I have to evaluate this deal the way that it currently is.
That's fair. But I think, yeah, it's also right for us to point out that this deal is imminently adjustable because of the fact that there is no guaranteed money. You could guarantee him the max and bring his money down to the minimum potentially. There may be regulations against that, but the point being is that there's a lot of flexibility here for a guy that doesn't have any guaranteed money. And even if you like him, and even if you wanted to keep him, let's say he has a good year, he fits the system, he plays well here. He's still very young. If you like him and he plays well next year and you want to keep him, there's still that option as well to add a void year or move the money around some more. So the good part is that there is no yes, I agree. If he plays in the contract untouched, it's not great that you spent a 4th round pick and you're giving up that much in cap space. But I just have a hard time believing that is what's going to end up being the case when both parties benefit from a situation like what we've suggested.
Why do you think the Cowboys gave up a 4th round pick, considering all the Packer guys thought he was going to be released? Rashan Gary put out a note on Twitter on Saturday that he was going to be, he was getting moved on from. Why did it cost this much?
Because look how much Jalen Phillips got in unrestricted free agency. These guys are getting insane amounts of money. Like, it's like, what do you get, $125 million for 4 years or something? And Jalen Phillips is a good player. Absolutely. Probably better than Gary in value wise, but he also has a lot of injury history and a lot of these warts, right? These guys are getting paid a lot of money. And I think what you wanted was the ability to control the costs here. We've talked about this already, that you have an all-in situation, and this isn't like, the Trey Hendrickson move, but this is still a guy who is going to be extremely valuable for you on 1st and 2nd downs and stopping the run and setting the edge, and can also be a solid pass rusher as part of a rotation. You still needed a guy like this. This is a upgraded version of Jadeveon Clowney, basically. So I just think that, you're filling roles that you need, and you're not done yet. I mean, we call this first wave a first wave, but you still have the top guys at both linebacker and edge rusher still available in free agency for some reason. So it's a little bit disjointed, and there's still opportunities out there to continue to fill this role.
All right, let's talk about the move that I'm actually really excited about. I'm not that I hate Rashan Gary. I've got very mixed feelings. I don't have mixed feelings when it comes to Jalen Thompson. Let's talk about that signing next. This episode is brought to you by TurboTax. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old ways of doing taxes is a lot. trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, wondering if they really got your situation right. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar that you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting with a real person and walking out knowing that your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Free agency is officially here, and so are we. Get 1 month free of the Everyday Club with code free agency, no spaces, now through March 15th. Go ad-free and keep this conversation going on Discord. Join the club at lockedoncowboys.supercast.com. All right, Landon, let's talk about the one signing the Cowboys did have on Monday, and that is Jalen Thompson, the safety from the Arizona Cardinals. This has been one that's been kind of rumored for a while. We knew the Cowboys liked him. What are your thoughts on the player and the deal?
Yeah, it sounds like it's a good fit because of the history that he has with Ryan Smith, right? The defensive backs coach that came from Arizona, and really is just a really versatile, down and back, inside, outside guy. I mean, not outside, but he's played, nickel, he's played free safety, he's played strong safety. And we've talked about the need to kind of have these sort of versatile defensive backs on the back end in the system. And I think he really, really fits the bill. He's got real long arms. He's got good athleticism. He's a real interesting guy because I think he came in, if I'm not mistaken, in the supplemental draft a few years ago.
Well, that was a thing.
Yeah, back when that was a thing, right? So and even when it was a thing, it was pretty rare to get worthy guys in the supplemental draft that ended up making something of themselves. So just a kind of an unusual guy that kind of gets lost in this process a little bit. But if you go back and watch the Arizona tape, like this guy was all over it, playing opposite of Budda Baker and just really provided. If you think about how the Cardinals had to use Budda Baker, they put him all over the field, they lined him up everywhere. They needed another safety that could play off of that, right? That could do the other thing that you needed the safety to do while Budda Baker was being put into positions to make plays. And I think that in itself has incredible value. And this guy really showed that ability to kind of do it all. And I think especially in that kind of big nickel role that they're looking to play, I think he could be a really effective player.
So the deal that I saw, 3 years, $36 million, could make upwards of $38 million. But it's really like effectively a 2-year, $22 million deal when it comes to guaranteed money. I saw The Athletic, they were projecting him at like $15 to $16 million a year. So it's coming way in under that. So again, I think the deal itself is really good, but I think the fit is awesome as well. You mentioned the versatility. I've got some numbers for you. Since joining the league in 2019, listen to these breakdowns. 2,100 snaps in the box, 1,200 snaps in the slot, 2,500 snaps as a free safety, 150 as an outside corner, and then he's got about 50 as a box player as well, on top of playing on some special teams units. I mean, they moved him all around. Talking to Alex Clancy, our guy here from Locked On Cardinals, he said his best work is as a box safety that can cover the flats. He's a really good tackler. I think with Malik Hooker being back for 2026, I think this fits really well.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked if they weren't done here. I mean, you need 3 safeties in a modern NFL defense anyways. They didn't tender Wanye Thomas. We've got Marquise Bell coming back, but I'm interested to see kind of where he ends up fitting, because after talking to a couple different folks, including Cody Alexander, friend of the show, I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up playing nickel. I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up as your big nickel, and especially considering what his role as a linebacker.
Which is shocking, though, because he's smaller than what were thinking the Cowboys were going to want as a slot defender.
Well, no, I mean, he's 6'1", 220, isn't he? Like, I mean,
no, 5'11", 190 is what he was last year.
Well, see, it's funny, right? Like, because when he was playing linebacker, he was 6'1", 215. And then when he was playing safety, he suddenly moved to 5'11" to 190. So I don't know. I've always viewed him as kind of a nice size safety. So maybe I'm wrong, but I still think that he has the mentality. I mean, think about the physicality that he had to play with at linebacker. That's the kind of physicality that you're looking for at the position. And it is a little bit of a mentality thing, I think, as well. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how that fits.
I'm a huge fan. This is exactly what the Cowboys needed. They needed a versatile guy that was good in coverage, that can stop the run. Now, I want to be clear. He's not an all-pro safety. He's not Kyle Hamilton. He's not Derwin James. He is an above-average starter. And this is a position that over the last couple of years, safeties have gotten a lot more expensive. It used to be these guys were available on the market for like $5 million, $6 million. Now with a lot of teams utilizing the short passing game, throwing the ball over the middle of the field more, you need more of these versatile defenders. I think this is a fantastic deal for Dallas. They needed more depth in their secondary. I'm with you. I still think they could use another safety. I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted a Dylan Thieneman. If Caleb Downs makes it to 12, we're having a party, and we see the Cowboys use more 3 safety looks back like they did when they had Dan Quinn.
Yeah, and again, like I think guys like Thompson and Downs, if you were to get a guy like that, I think one of them could play full-time nickel if you needed them to. So I think it's a good signing. It makes a lot of sense. You can plug them in where you need them, and you're not like beholding yourself to like a specific spot. Now I think you could draft either a safety or a nickel and feel pretty good because Jalen Thompson could fill the opposite role just like he did when he was with the Cardinals.
Also, I think it opens you up to other types of safeties. So we've been talking about Caleb Downs and Dylan Thieneman. Those have been 2 guys that we've spent a lot of time talking about. I wonder if someone like Emmanuel McNeil Warren, who the Cowboys met with at the Combine, a bigger safety, 6'2", 210, that's got long arms that can play as a free safety. Maybe that's somebody that you can draft now, put him as your future free safety, and you pair him and Thompson together for the foreseeable future. It just opens you up to a lot of possibilities on the back end.
Yeah, and I mean, playing McNeil Warren in this scheme, especially in the back end, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Like, I mean, he could play the halves really well at a quarter. I think he would thrive in that role. So, yeah, I think it does. I think it gives you more opportunity to not feel like you have to go get a guy who can also play nickel because you've got at least this guy, and like I said, maybe Marquise Bell as well to kind of fill that role if you need him to.
All right, let's talk about the Cowboys linebacker position because that's the one thing that still isn't solved. They were aggressive on Monday. They didn't get it done, but we'll tell you what happened next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay that you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe. Go bold, ride with the team that you've been riding with all season long. It's your parlay, it's your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Landon, let's talk about the linebacker situation because the Cowboys were in on several linebackers this week. They were interested in Quay Walker, who signed a 3-year, $40 million deal. I guess that was their number one target. I'm happy that one didn't work out, honestly. They were in on Nakobe Dean. They actually, according to Jane Slater, they offered him a very similar deal to what the Raiders gave him, which was 3 years, $36 million. Dean decided to take the Raiders offer instead. He thought it was a better football fit for him. Devin Lloyd is still a free agent. What's going on at linebacker?
everyone's kind of doing their own thing, right? It's weird. Like, I think the Devin Lloyd situation is odd that he hadn't signed yet. I kind of understand the Hendrickson thing a little bit because he's, hasn't hit free agency. He's an older guy. He's taking his time, but the Lloyd situation, it's kind of perplexing a little bit, especially with all these other guys. Like, go ahead.
Do you think so? He wants to be the highest paid linebacker, I'm sure, at the position, or at least the highest one in free agency.
Yeah.
And he had an all-pro year in the contract year. Do you think that's what is bogging this down, as teams are a little bit leery of giving him a record-setting deal after only 1 year of production?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we talked about, look, we forgot to mention in the last segment, but one of the things the Cowboys did is follow one of our rules, right? They went out and got a couple of guys that they were familiar with and they, that they knew about. I think one of the rules with Lloyd that we talked about was don't pay for just 1 year of production, and I think Devin Lloyd was a first round pick. And he was a very average linebacker for 3 years of those 4 years, or was it 4 or 5 years? And at this point now, like, comes into a contract year, absolutely blows it up. Could it be partially the change in scheme and him being in the right place at the right time? I mean, his numbers were incredible, but interceptions and stuff like that are very fluky. Why would you want to necessarily pay a guy who's been a middling linebacker $18 million? And it's like you have to project here, right? And this is the issue, right? Is you're projecting that this guy is on an upward trajectory, but you don't know, right? You're paying, like we said, that they're doing the things you shouldn't do. You're paying for 1 year of production, so it's a risk, and I think other teams probably see that as well.
And it doesn't help that he's a little bit older. I mean, he was a first round pick in, was it 2022? But he'll actually be 28 in September, which again is not old, but it's only 2 years younger than Fred Warner, right? It's only a year younger than Roquan Smith. And these are guys that a lot of people think are like declining assets right now. If he wants to get paid $20 million a year, I obviously don't think that money's coming. Otherwise, he would have gotten it. Would he accept the deal more in the $15-16 million a year range? We'll see. In all likelihood, when you guys listen to this, he'll probably have signed with the team. But if it's not Devin Lloyd, it's not going to be Nakobe Dean, it's not Quay Walker, what do you want the Cowboys to do at linebacker?
Well, right now they're exploring trades. They're looking around to see who's available. I think that, they're probably waiting to see exactly what does happen with Devin Lloyd. But I think at this point, you can still find some decent players because you're able to open up your scope a little bit on what kind of linebacker you're looking for, right? I think at this point you're probably still thinking about, hey, if Sonny Styles falls to you at 12, maybe you pull the trigger. So you definitely need to fill the role. You definitely have to get some linebackers anyway. So just start going to get, a linebacker that you like at the price that you like. The trade situation, like, it needs to be for the right guy. I feel like if you're really going to, simply move the needle, but otherwise, like, you've got to get linebackers either way. Your first linebacker you sign doesn't have to be the big swing. It could be a middle round guy. So maybe you sign a guy and just kind of hang around the rim of the Devin Lloyd situation to see what happens.
I don't want them to. Let me back up. They get in trouble when they are trading for former first-round picks who are big names, right, that haven't produced, whether that was Kyrie Elam, whether that was Kenneth Walker. I mean, the list goes on and on. Jonathan Bingo wasn't a first-round pick, but he was a high second-round pick. If they're going to trade for somebody, and we've talked about this on Monday's show, trade for a player who is good and not for somebody who you think has untapped potential, right? And you can trust your coaching staff a lot, but don't go up and give a $10 million contract to a linebacker who has never played to that ability, right? And just some of the names that we've heard floated around kind of fall into that bucket. I would much rather them go out and sign like a Leo Chanel from the Chiefs. And yeah, he's a flawed player, but he's $7 million a year, and I think he upgrades your linebacker core pretty dramatically.
Yeah, and I think the play style fits, right? Like, he's a very downhill fit. And I think, listen, I mean, you talked about Devin Lloyd being 28, right? And like that being a negative about, his being an advanced age. I think that that's also informing his reason to like reach for the stars. He just had an all pro year, $20 million. Like that's what I'm going to be asking for. I think once that price starts to come down, then the negotiating can really actually start to begin there. But if you don't want to go that route, then like you said, like there are still guys you can go out there and get. And the best part about all this is that, I don't think any of these trades are going to involve your 2 first-round picks. So you still have 2 first-round picks.
If they do, I might be quitting this podcast. And I know there's people listening that would be happy about that. But no, it's absolutely not. Let me ask you this. Is there even a linebacker in the league that you would pay a first-round pick for?
Do I get a time machine that comes with Fred Warner?
Nope.
Or
nope.
Okay. No, I don't think so. I mean,
no, so that's
not an off-ball linebacker.
No.
But yeah, I still think that the good news about this defense is that if you can find a smart, guy who's physical and come downhill and can chase the quarterback a little bit, that there's use for that kind of linebacker in this defense too. Whereas maybe that type of play style wouldn't fit in a more 4-3 drop back situation.
We'll see. I'm expecting the Cowboys to be even busier on Tuesday and Wednesday. I would expect them to sign multiple defensive guys, including a linebacker and a defensive lineman. Maybe they sign a cornerback. I know the first, second, and third waves of free agency are already over, but this is generally when the Cowboys get involved. We'll see what they do in the next 48 hours. That is it for today's show. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every single day. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Go to lockedoncowboys.supercast.com to join the members-only Discord and so much more. You're going to get this podcast for just $5 a month. Again, go to lockedoncowboys.supercast.com to join the club. And for those of you on video, we can send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. And on audio, make your second listen the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. Follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus _Mosher, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.